Known as the Renegade Lunch Lady, Chef Ann is a celebrated author, chef, educator, and enduring advocate for better food for all children. Ann continues to be a prominent voice of reform in school cafeterias by focusing on links between lunch foods and children's health and wellness. In 2009, Chef Ann founded the Chef Ann Foundation to focus on solutions to the food school crisis. Her organization's pivotal project is the Lunchbox, a web portal that provides free and accessible tools, recipes, and resources to support schools transitioning to scratch-cooked meals made with whole and healthy food. Since its establishment, the Chef Ann Foundation has placed more than 4,000 salad bars in schools across the nation, and more than 2 million children have been given access to healthy, fresh ingredients. In addition, we are thrilled to welcome Dan Carlson, Assistant Superintendent for School Facilities and Support Services, who will speak on behalf of Lieutenant Governor Shan Sui, who is spearheading the Farm to School initiative for the state of Hawaii. We also have 3 industry leaders who will take the stage and discuss real opportunities and challenges facing Hawaii's Farm to School initiative. Our panel includes Chef Greg Christian of Beyond Green Sustainable Food Partners, who was recently hired by the state to implement the Farm to School in the Kohala School complex on the Big Island. Thus far, he has helped launch a successful lunch program that emphasizes local ingredients and scratch cooking. Dexter Kishida of the Department of Education School Food Services Supervisor will share the overall vision for executing Farm to School initiative here in our islands. And Juliana Arnett, who is the USDA Farm to School Regional Lead for the Western region, will talk about her success with procurement and school lunch initiatives on the mainland. I would also like to give a warm welcome to our moderator, Augie T., Hawaii's favorite award-winning comedian, actor, and talk show host with 93.1 The Pa'ina. We were only able to invite a few leaders involved in the Farm to School initiative in Hawaii to speak today. So before I welcome our first speaker, I want to acknowledge the many organizations involved in the Farm to School public-private partnership with the LG's office. They include the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Education, the Department of Health, the Dorrance Family Foundation, Hawaii Appleseed, Johnson Ohana Charitable Foundation, Kaiser Permanente, the Kokua Foundation, the Kohala Center, and the Ulupono Initiative. Now, please join me in welcoming Dan Carlson of the DOE, who will say a few words on behalf of the Lieutenant Governor.
Aloha. Unfortunately, the Lieutenant Governor had a family emergency this evening and that he needed to attend to, so you're stuck with me. He asked me to give his opening remarks, so I'll go ahead and read them from here. Aloha, everyone. I'm so honored to welcome you to Eat, Think, Drink, featuring a discussion on school lunch and the Hawaii Farm to School initiative. I'd like to thank Denise Yamaguchi and the Hawaii Agriculture Foundation for putting together this wonderful and exciting evening. When we first embarked on this journey of creating the Hawaii Farm to School initiative within our public school system, we didn't know how we were going to change a bureaucratic system to allow us to increase more local products in the schools. But what we did know was that we wanted to bring fresher, healthier meals to our children while using ingredients sourced from within our great state. And at the same time, we would be supporting our farmers and agriculture community. While on this journey, there have been many skeptics and many people who said it was too difficult to accomplish. But here we are today. A Farm to School pilot program has been established, and for the first time ever in the state of Hawaii, products from local farms are being officially served in a public school. The pilot project is well underway in the DOE's Kohala complex on the Big Island. This would not have been possible with the hard work of the executive committee, including Dexter Kishida from our DOE, Chef Greg Christian of Beyond Green Sustainable Food Partners, and Elisa Okoye of the Kohala Center, and Jason Watts from the LG's office, as well as the tremendous leadership and support of my boss, the Superintendent Catherine Mariyoshi, and the Board of Agriculture Chair, Scott Enright. I would also like to acknowledge and thank our partners in the nonprofit and private sector who believe in this initiative and believe in the work we are doing. Our executive committee faced the difficult task of getting more fresh and local products into our schools, as well as an even bigger challenge of changing the cooking philosophy and culture within our school kitchens.
Well, thank you, Denise. Thank you all for coming. I think we should just give Denise and her team a big round of applause. How about that? I mean, just to get so many people in this room to talk about school food, really? Like, that's something exciting? You know, I got started in school food 18 years ago now. Seems like a lifetime ago. Before that, I was just a regular old chef working 100 hours. Never really cared what kids ate, you know. When my worst nightmare is somebody comes running into the kitchen on a Saturday night and going, Chef, there's a screaming child on table 19, what do I do? And I'd look at him and go, ask him to leave. What are they doing here on a Saturday night? But somehow I went from there to here. And we're going to talk about farm to school today. And when I started in schools, I started in a private school in New York, and then Alice Waters, a chef from California, drugged me out to California and said we needed to do it there. And eventually I went on to Boulder, Colorado, where I am now. And when I first got into schools, the first thing I wanted to do was put in salad bars. And everyone said, you can't do it. And I said, why not? And they said, because little kids can't eat off of them and big kids spit in them. And I'm here to tell you, neither really happens. Kids eat off of salad bars. And the reason I open this talk with salad bars is salad bars are the best way to get kids to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. And I also want to say, I'm really proud that my foundation that actually has given away almost 5,000 salad bars now, and we're touching 2.9 million kids, we actually have 8 salad bars here in Hawaii and 3 on this island. So I'm really excited about that. I know, that's pretty cool, right? We ship them all the way over here. Who knew? So when I start talking about this stuff, I really start like people say, why are you doing this? What are you doing here? And it's really because we are here to help kids be the best they can be. And hungry kids can't learn, malnourished kids can't think. And that's the start of this process. If we all want our kids to learn, and we want our kids to excel in every part of their life, then we need to start with what we feed them. And here, especially when we're talking about farm to school, it's about locally sourced food. It's about food that has a face, food that comes with a story, food that we can show to our kids. This happens to be some of my staff at the Boulder County Farmers Market. We actually go to the farmers market. In fact, we'll be there 2 Saturdays from now. And we bring kids there with us, and we have all kinds of things going on. And we try and make that connection. And what this connection is all about is sustainable food. And I'm part of something called the Google Food Lab. And they've stopped using the term sustainable, and they've really started saying regen. I mean, it's this idea of triple bottom line: people, planet, prosperity, healthy kids, healthy earth, healthy food. But we have to go beyond sustainable. We have to regenerate the system. We have to regenerate the health of our children. So what do kids eat? That's my healthy meal wheel. This was the USDA's. This is Harvard's, and wait for it, School Food in America. And this used to be a reimbursable meal. Now you'd have to put a little something else on there. But, you know, the chips was the grain, and the cheese sauce was the protein, and the fries are the vegetable, and that other stuff was the fruit. School food's not easy. I once catered a party for 20,000 on the top of a mountain. That was way easier than school food. So 5 big challenges: food, finance, facilities, human resources, and marketing. Food, how are we going to find it? Where are we going to get it? How will we make sure it's good? Finances, how do we pay for it? Facilities, what do you do when you don't have a kitchen? Human resources, how do you train your staff? And finally, how do you get the kids to eat it? These are the issues that we all deal with, and especially when you want to move to farm to school. Now, the first day of my job in Berkeley, with Alice Waters touring the kitchens with me, I opened a freezer, and this was the food that was there: Extremo burritos, pizza pockets, grilled cheese sandwiches in plastic bags, and that's some kind of fruit and high fructose corn syrup. And that's what You know, in Berkeley, 15 years ago, they were serving kids. I mean, like, what is that? And it's not just about what we serve kids in schools, it's what we sell kids in schools. And because education as a whole in our whole country is underfunded, that we end up having schools that sell things to kids to pay for everything from erases to footballs. And all of this is allowed to be served to kids. And, you know, there's cookies and there's, I don't know what all that stuff is. I don't even want to talk about it because it's stuff, it's not food. And then there was chicken nuggets. Now, I don't know about all of you, but from a farm-to-school perspective, who decided that chicken should be, let's see, a star, a smiley face, a dinosaur, or this? This is a picture of food in my schools. Now, clearly it's a professionally taken photograph, but that's what our plates look like. We do about 13,000 meals a day in our schools. Everything's done from scratch, including breading all the chicken. So for me, as for many of the people who work in school food, this is cooking with a cause. I dropped out of the chef world to do this. And for 18 years, I've been trying to fix school food, not only in Boulder and Berkeley before that, but all across the country. My foundation's working in every single state in the nation. And it's hard, but it's almost like this calling, right? I mean, it's almost like, why are we doing this? It's the most important work. So let's kind of segue back to that whole farm to school thing. It starts with the menu, and it starts with procurement. So in Boulder, and I've been there 8 years now, we're buying about 75,000 pounds of local produce and 150,000 pounds of local beef and chicken, and 25% of all of our purchases are local or regional. That can happen here. I know that's the goal. It can happen anywhere. But this is a lot of work. When you're going from that, whatever that stuff is, you know, to this, to roast chicken and brown rice and salad bars and fruit, there's so much stuff that has to happen. And people look at us, lunch ladies like myself, and go, well, why can't you just make it happen? Hey, that would be a whole nother conversation. But we do need to change this. It's the most important work we could do. But it's hard. So when I first started doing local produce in Berkeley, this is a picture from Berkeley, that's 1 day's worth of produce. And for those of you who don't think it's hard, I mean, first of all, you need cooks, they need to know how to cook. Oh, and then you need to give them a knife, and then you need to give them a cutting board, and then they need the plastic Cambros, and then they need the carts, and oh, and how about a walk-in? I mean, so to be able to do this, to be able to segue kitchens, keyword, kitchens. One of my favorite farmers, Joel Salatin, says if we're going to save the country, we need to find our kitchens again. And we certainly have to have school kitchens again. So the USDA knows this, and they gave out $35 million in grants, but we need $1,035 million in grants. I can spend $35 million before I've had coffee in the morning. And you need to buy real equipment, and we need efficiencies of scale. And we need to work with our staff. I mean, we are now, as a generation, as a country, 2 generations away from cooking. People have forgotten how to cook. So when I bring all my staff in, just even saying, okay, this is raw chicken, you need a thermometer. It needs to be calibrated. You need knives. You know, we have these breading machines and tumblers. We have all this equipment. You know, it's really important. But let me tell you, if you're going to have a successful farm-to-school program, you can do all the stuff right. Somehow you're going to find the money. We'll talk about the money. And you're going to build kitchens. And you're going to train your staff. You're going to do all of that. And how do we get the kids to eat it? We have now taught a generation of children that chicken nuggets is a food group and hot Cheetos is breakfast. What have we done? You know, in our country, 1 out of every 4 meals is eaten in a car. Like, what is that? So we have to come together on this issue. You know, when we talk about farm to school, we talk about kids in gardens. We talk about fresh food getting into schools. so that kids are eating fresh fruits and vegetables. You know, this shouldn't be brain surgery. Somehow we think the kids are going to know this, that it doesn't matter that we feed them junk, but somehow they're going to know this. So marketing to kids is really important. Marketing to families is really important. This happens to be the calendar that we give out. We write our menus for a whole year. There's calendars on many of these seats. So for the whole year, I write the menu. And then we give them to all of the kids in schools, all the families. And it's paid for with foundation and outside funders. So we actually make money on it. But one of the things about having a farm-to-school program is really getting the message out there. There's also a bunch of these cards outside to pick up. We do Harvest of the Month cards. On the left is one of my favorite farmers, Eric Skokand. He also owns some restaurants in Boulder. So we have cards for farmers. We have cards for vegetables and fruit. All of this stuff is downloadable and customizable from the website. But it's ways to touch kids. We have been extremely successful. So successful that in the 8 years I've been in Boulder, we're up almost 29% in average daily participation, kids eating, in 8 years. And while we're doing that, we need to get kids to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. We know that's important. We've started redoing all our menus to be plant forward. Not to be vegetarian, not to be vegan, plant forward. Making plants the center of the plate. We want kids to be healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables. We need salad bars. Best way to do farm to school, get a salad bar in your school. But you know what? If you have all that there, and you have 12 or 13 or 15-minute lunch periods, bell to bell, kids don't have time to eat it. So they run into the cafeteria, they take a couple bites, and they throw it away. So it's all very complicated. It's not just about getting good food on a plate. I mean, I can be the best chef in the world, and if kids don't eat it, it's compost at best. So everybody, when I speak about these topics all around the country, there's always people that are going to raise their hand and say, we can't afford it. So here's School Finance 101. You know, we're serving 30 million, 31 million lunches a day in America. That's 5.4 billion lunches a year. And we're spending about $12.5 billion. And I think that needs to be increased 50%. And so I think it should go up to 20 billion. And people are aghast, oh, the economy, how can that possibly happen? Well, let me tell you that just diabetes and obesity is costing this country $265 billion a year. That's $5 billion a week. And the wars that we're not in, or maybe we are in, I don't know, they've gotten a little more expensive lately, but they're $3 billion a week. So if we took 1 week off of diabetes, obesity, and wars, we could increase what we pay for kids. The most important thing, what we're feeding our kids. But let's bring that down a little bit, because who can deal with numbers like 5.4 billion meals and $12.5 billion or $20 billion? In the continental United States, as a lunch lady, I get $3.22 to feed kids. In this state, it's $3.75. And you think, oh, you know, $3.75, I can probably make a good meal. But out of the $3.22 that I get, I have $1.25. $1.25 for the food cost of a meal. And I have to serve protein, whole grain, fruit, vegetable, and milk. I have to offer those 5 things. So if I gave all of you even $6, $8, let's just say I'm going to give all of you $8 and go to the grocery store and buy food for yourself and 3 friends. Protein, whole grain, fruit, vegetable, and milk. Can you make that meal for 4 people? So when we talk about this, we have to realize that it's so underfunded. That one of the things that we need to understand if we're going to have a really strong, vibrant farm-to-school program is we need to spend more money. And let's talk about that for a second. I bet every single person in this room has had an adult beverage recently. Maybe that was coffee, maybe it was beer or wine, hey, I had some sake the other night. Beer, wine, $5, $6 a beer maybe. Wine, $14, $15 my glass was last night. Coffee at Starbucks, $5. So we're talking about, as adults, we're spending 5, 10, 15 times more on what's often daily and maybe more times a day, beverages, than we are on what our kids are eating in school. I mean, that's kind of crazy, right? This whole thing is backwards. You know, the healthcare system is imploding. We don't have enough money, and our kids are sick. You know, 1 out of every 3 American children born in the year 2000 is going to have diabetes in their lifetime. And here's the solution. If we want to save the health of our children, if we really want to make a difference, then we need to start talking about farm to school. We need to start talking about how we're going to get the freshest possible food to our kids every day. Plant-forward food, salad bars, 50% of the plate plant-based. That's what we need to do. And together we can do this. And we need to involve the kids. I mean, we should have a garden in every single school in the country. Every single school, bar none. If we want kids to eat fresh fruits and vegetables when they've grown up on high-fat, high-salt, high-sugar food, then they need to know what it tastes like. In our school district, we do 200 events a year. Things like tastings. We let the kids, this is a cucumber tomato salad, it was done in August or September. So the stuff is really good and really delicious. And we let the kids help make it. And then we do garden tastings. So in our school district, and it's legal, even though most people will say it's not, you can actually use food from school gardens in the lunch program. Now you have to have a HACCP plan, hazard analysis critical control point. You have to be sure it's going to be safe. You got to do some stuff. But what's the best way to get a kid to eat something is if they cooked it, or if they grew it, or if they taste it, and if it's delicious. And what is more delicious than something right out of the garden? A tomato that's warm from the sun. Program for high poverty schools. And this program is getting kids all across the country to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables and taste ones that they've never had before. And even in Boulder, where I'm running it in 3 of my high poverty schools, I know it's hard to imagine Boulder's high poverty, but it is, in pockets. I mean, kids, you know, I come up with a red carrot, and they have no idea what it is. You know, we plant the carrots and have the kids pull them up, and they thought it was magic. Who put the carrots in the ground? No, we have a USDA person with us here, and is going to talk to us. But if we want farm to school to be important, if we want farm to school to help save our kids, we need to make sure that the next farm bill includes it. So people always ask me, what can we do? What can you do? Well, we need to get political on these issues. We need to be able to say that farm to school is really important, that we want it as part of the farm bill, that we want to keep healthy food in schools, because that is farm to school. Now, a lot of these slides you've seen say, do one thing, do one thing, do one thing. And the reason my slides say that over and over and over is because, like many of you, I sit in rooms like this, and you get all fired up, and you think, I can do that. And then you walk out, and you get 75 emails and 50 texts, and somebody's calling you, and you forget. So I'm challenging you. Do one thing. Listen to what everybody says, listen to everything that you hear, and then promise yourself you're going to do one thing to make a difference for kids. So I have my foundation, I have the lunchbox. There's a lot of tools there if you're working in schools. We got a USDA grant. We have 330 recipes up right now. We've got another 80 ready to go up. They're all explodable, customizable. We have all kinds of information on the Chef Ann website and the Lunchbox website. We talked a little bit about salad bars. We started a program with Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign. That was Let's Move salad bars to schools. And these numbers are a little bit last month, but we've raised over $12 million, donated over 5,000 salad bars, and as I said, we're touching 2.9 million kids. Every school should have a salad bar. Every school. You want to support farm to school? Get a salad bar in there. Fill it with local produce. Absolutely can happen.
Come on in. Everybody all right? Everybody okay? All right, cool. I'm excited because on my second day working for the Lieutenant Governor's office, I was sent to Kohala. And it's like, yo, you can work in the cafeteria. I was like, perfect, perfect. My first crush was a cafeteria lady. But it was amazing because I knew nothing about farm to school. And when I got there, I saw the amazing work, again, by Priscilla. If you guys can give her a hand, she's sitting right there. And everybody give him a hand. He's from Beyond Green Sustainable Food Partners. And Juliana Arnett from the USDA Farm to School, everybody. And everybody knows Chef Ann. So let's rock and roll. Let's get to it, okay?
And so I learned how to say please and thank you, and I've actually apologized 4 times in the last 5 months. And I had never apologized in a kitchen in 36 years. So so the training started with me. And then what I did once I learned that was the biggest thing that was missing was this teamwork spirit and teamwork ability. What happens in these kitchens in general, not just Hawaii, but institutional kitchens, school kitchens in general, is that the food has ended up being mostly processed food, so the kitchen can put the food out without having to work together. So there's like the canned, so they look like cooks, they dress like cooks, they talk like cooks, they're in a kitchen full of kitchen equipment, and they're serving food. So you would think that they're moving as one, like Roy. I met Roy tonight, and he's a cereal restaurant guy. And if you go to his kitchen, they're moving as one, I would guess. And in Kohala, they weren't moving as one. So, because they didn't have to, right? Not ready to go to work for Roy, today. But in a couple of months, he would welcome them into his kitchen, I think, so.
Oh, it's awesome. I think one of the things that I saw was the fact that, they were really all getting to it. I never really understood, that's all they did is open it, get the can open up. Now these ladies were cutting bread and weighing bread, cutting bread and weighing bread, which was kind of awesome to me, see them doing that. They were little, a couple aunties over there was like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. But they were doing it, which is awesome. Okay, now I get to ask you the big question. All right. Juliana, you have a tremendous experience in the procurement and of farm fresh ingredients in other school districts and also other large-scale organizations like hospitals. Tell us about your experience making rules and compliance work in different systems.
Okay. I've actually never had too much of a challenge with the rules in my own experience. When you're talking about farm to institution anywhere, is that our agricultural system has changed drastically over the last 100 years. We no longer have a lot of small scale agriculture that you have here in Hawaii, which you should be very proud of. You are lucky. You are one of the few places in the country that has a food system and an opportunity like this. But the infrastructure that once served those growers that allowed them to aggregate product and or get it into their local markets no longer exist. Also, as Chef Ann mentioned several times in her speaking points, your school cafeteria, depending on where your child goes to school, could look entirely different. One cafeteria could have a built-out commercial kitchen like you've never seen, and you would love to have something like this, while others may just be able to heat and serve product. And so that's a significant issue. Logistics is another thing, which I'll get into in just a moment, but before that, capacity. Both on the farms and on the food service side, particularly when you're talking with communities that have small agriculture like you do. I came from a community where our average size of farmers in San Diego County, and we're really one of the few, is 4 to 9 acres. And so when you're trying to talk to a small farmer about how to get their product, they're busy in the field, and or often they are already selling product to a market that they know and they're comfortable with. And I'll tell you, there's nothing so disheartening as when you talk to a grower on the phone and you hear them say that they're selling their product for less than it took them to actually grow it, because that's the market channel that they're familiar with. And so I think really trying to build up the capacity, let them know what the expectations of the school food services are. Schools want product a particular way, they're flexible, but this is institutional procurement. We're talking large scale production and nothing like cooking for 1,000 of your favorite family members every single day. So they do need it in certain ways. And we do have certain food safety expectations, and making sure farmers know how to meet those and really walking with them along the way, because this is a new system for them, this. And you've heard Greg and Chef Ann eloquently talk about the need to rebuild the staff culinary skills inside these institutions as well. I would say that in my experience, food services play such an important role, whether it's in the schools or the hospitals. These are the people that feed us in and out every day. They are the backbone of our health and our nutrition. But if you look at a hospital website, you never see what the menu item of the day is on the website. And in schools, they often haven't been really, I think, given the pedestal they need to be and the important role that they play for children. So really investing in them. And I really think having a place at the table for them to talk and work together with one another is really what creates change.
Well, I first started by asking the kids what they wanted to eat, and I was new to Hawaii, and people, I don't know if people are shy or quiet around the new guy, but I brought Priscilla and we went in to talk to the kids. What do you want to eat? And everybody just kind of stared at me, and I'm like, oh, they're not talking. So we discovered that it would be helpful if we gave them something to write on, and then they would open up in writing. So that was new to me. And then when I asked the ladies, then the second thing I do is I asked, it's all women in the cafeteria in Kohala, what do you want to make? Because I'm trying to converge what do the kids want to eat with what do the ladies want to make, with what's the equipment in the kitchen and what do the farmers have, right, in budget. And the ladies weren't used to, Priscilla and her team weren't used to being asked that question, because in general in institutional food, especially a system this big, it's been, I think, a little bit hard to get everybody's opinion. So they weren't used to anyone saying, what would you, if you had a magic wand, what would you serve the kids? So they kind of stared at me at first, right? And now everyone's staring at me. The farmers didn't stare at me. They told me what they had to grow. But finally the ladies opened up. They realized they were safe with me, right? And so those were just initial little obstacles. And then it was not a big obstacle, but teaming up with Priscilla. Okay, here's what the kids want. Here's what you want to make. Here's what the farmers have. Here's the budget. Of course, compliance. We want to make sure Sue and her team are satisfied that we're following the rules, right? And we don't want the union called, right, of course. And we want to be in people's job descriptions. So converging all that, and I didn't want to do all that work because I wanted Priscilla to be thinking. And so just, being patient as she came up with the menu, right? Because I lack patience sometimes, So I was probably the biggest obstacle, in Kohala. But they got it. And then we didn't go live. A lot of people are tempted to then go live with a menu, but we sampled the food multiple times to the kids, saying, is this what you mean by spaghetti and meatballs? Or is this what you mean by lau lau? Or is this what you mean by pizza? We had to make the pizza 4 times before the kids said, that's the pizza. And so that takes a little bit of patience too, right? Because now first you weren't talking, and now you're telling me that's not the pizza, right? So those are all tiny obstacles that, that I wanted the ladies to be comfortable with, and now they totally are. They don't want me in the kitchen. Priscilla's quiet back there, but they don't, like, when's he going to be in the kitchen, right?
Awesome. Greg?
Chefs on stage, the salad bars are a perfect way to play with your food. And I think while growing up, my mother always said, don't play with your food, but you've got to. That's the way you reconnect. Now, should they be using their hands? Maybe not. But you've got a way, and a salad bar allows that, allows a child to choose. Because my son doesn't like veggies very much.
Me too.
Right? It's balance. Finding out how to best situate all of this. Allowing kids the opportunity to choose what they eat. Don't tell them, but it's actually perceived choice. But perceived choice in what they eat kind of empowers them to make good choices now.
Okay, back to you, Juliana. Quick question. In Hawaii, the state procurement system has oftentimes been an obstacle to purchasing locally grown products. What different approaches have you seen other governments and school districts take to address these challenges?
Sure. First, I want to applaud all the steps that have been taken in Hawaii. I mean, the fact that this is an initiative that's being supported at the governmental level is pretty impressive. That's not happening everywhere, and I'm excited to see that movement. A couple quick examples are in the state of Michigan. Their governor brought together a food policy council, and they developed the Good Food Charter, which set a benchmark in Michigan, which to have 20% of the food that is consumed in Michigan grown in Michigan. And as part of that charter, it included similar benchmarks for their school. Not only did they want 20% of the product to be procured, but they also wanted them to be 100% in compliance with the regulations by 2020. And I think that that's a really exciting thing, that it's part of, yes, the school food system is the focus and in there, but it's also part of this broader food systems vision as well. Where I come from in San Diego originally, our county board of supervisors, which just to make the connection, we're a county that's about the size of Connecticut and larger than 20 other states in the union as far as population-wise. So what they did was they developed a food systems initiative, and this brought together departments from across the county system, which very much operates like a state. And we had Department of Ag, we had Department of Ed, we had Health and Human Services, but that ability to put all the key players in the room, which I think is very in line with what Hawaii is doing here, is really important. And so I think that work of getting the right players in the room, having the conversation and mapping out the goal and the work that they need to do is instrumental to really moving along the work.
Awesome. Okay, I want to give you guys one more question, and then I think everybody want to eat. Huh? Yeah. Okay. Eat, think, drink. Okay, Dexter, your question. One of the biggest issues we know of is capacity, the building, right? How do you work with the staff and students to ensure that these types of programs are fully seen through?
With 256 schools and 200 production kitchens, our staff really are our number one asset. And we're really blessed to have passionate staff that they're the aunties. Augie and I were talking earlier that kind of the main reason I went to school was for lunch. These are the people that when I have a bad day can make it better. And so our staff are key. So providing additional training, and we're building on our training programs. Having folks like Greg coming in to do really intense training with our staff, going to be key. The other assets that we already have is the communities. Our schools truly are centers of the community. And having the community support in the room and around our schools are really essential. Coming from school food services, nutrition and agriculture education is my marketing department. We don't have money for marketing. So garden-based education and nutrition education in the classroom is how we market what we're doing on our menus. So really tying all those pieces, as Juliana was saying, together, it's perfect. We're in, I was going to say perfect storm, but that's usually a negative thing, but we're in the perfect scenario that we have executive level support in the Lieutenant Governor's office. We have the grassroots efforts of nonprofits and communities supporting our schools and saying that we really want to feed our kids even better than we are, providing fresh, local items to them, and figuring out this middle portion of connecting the dots now to bring it all together for our kids. And we're at that place that we're now seeing how the dots can connect, utilizing experts in the field.
Give it up for Dexter, everybody. Huh? Okay, when we get to the law side, I'm going to save you for last, Greg, okay? So schools and farms increasingly asked to address food safety. Can you discuss how other jurisdictions are addressing food safety while growing farm-to-school programs?
Sure. Can I ask how many in the room would like to eat safe food? The real question is, how do we make sure that food safety regulations and rules create an equal playing ground for both small and large growers so that we can move this movement forward? School districts and states are handling this different across the country. One thing that I wanted to reiterate on a USDA note is that we do not require farms to be GAP certified, and we also allow garden-grown produce into the cafeteria meal program. Not only do we allow it, we really encourage it. But just to give a couple examples of how other people are doing this work, I'll start with school gardens. In San Diego County, where I came from, there was a conversation a hospital wanted to include garden-grown produce that they grew on site into their school meal program. Well, in the state of California, as part of our California Retail Code, food has to be from an approved source. That may not mean a lot to you. It means a lot to people in the school cafeteria. It means it can or cannot be in there. They didn't know how to deem it. Garden-grown produce, and so what happens is they ended up saying that it wasn't allowed. So by de facto, we couldn't include it. They were working with local growers who had never sold product to the school system. They worked with them. They included in their RFP that they would do workshops with them. They had to be required to do a food safety plan. They would do trainings, and they would come out and do on-site inspections. And what was so unique about what they did was they walked them through the process. It wasn't, if you don't have these things, we won't work with you. They wanted to work with them through the process because they knew that this was something really new to them. And they didn't go for GAP because a lot of small growers, will sometimes push back because of cost. They worked with the community to find something that would address the food safety concerns and also wouldn't prohibit firms from participating.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Juliana. That was awesome. Thank you. Okay, Greg. So how do you think this type of program can be carried to other schools, districts locally? And how are the kids reacting to the new menus?
The kids like the food. We serve Lao Lao one day a month, and the high school kids storm the cafeteria, literally running. I think the way this rolls out is that all the stakeholders have to be in a room regularly and agree upon a few ways to measure success. They're never all going to agree on everything, but there needs to be, 5 to 10 measurables that everybody agrees upon even before we know how to do it. I think that we need the politicians, the funders, the private public, Department of Education, Department of Ag, Health and Human, Sue's office, Child Nutrition, and lots of smart partners like this woman, right? We need to never forget, we need to stand on Ann Cooper's shoulder. She's the giant in the country, right, at doing this. And so this is Hawaii and you do your own thing for sure, but there are things that we can learn from others.